Talking about being famous, talking about raves, we're going to mention this as well. This article courtesy of the Independent. The title of the article is Beyond the Rave, How Gen X is Saving Clubland and Showing Their Kids What They're Missing. I don't actually agree this is the case, because a lot of Gen X kids don't actually go out or drink or go do drugs or go crazy. So I'm curious to see what conclusion this article came to. Let's take a look. It was 4 in the afternoon. I walked into the club and actually felt a wave of euphoria washing over me, with the lasers going and the music pumping, feeling the bass going through me. James Davis, 54, wow, recalls his first steps back into partying at the 90s club Strawberry Sunday reunion event in 2023. Seeing everyone with their hands up in the air, I was like, okay, this is great. Davis has a critical eye. He used to be out 4 nights a week at Ministry's magazine club editor in the 1990s, then found himself deep in corporate life for companies like Vodafone and Samsung before heading to Ibiza to run wellness retreats. After moving back to London post-COVID, he discovered all the old names, all the old clubbers were back. I know people who are really senior lawyers at big law firms but secretly go raving as well. It's not even about reminding us of our youth, it's about going back to include happy culture. Okay, that's quite cool. I quite like that. But again, this isn't like random Gen Xers. These are people who used to rave but don't rave anymore because they're of their age, because of their job and shit. This is different than just a random person on the street deciding to just suddenly go and queue up at Fabric. Like, yeah, so bit of an okie doke on this article. That's something that's missing in the modern world. Social media is very divisive and fracturing, but being in a real life environment, it's all about coming together. There's something very attractive about that to people. That's true though. One of the things I really loved about the first times I used to go to Berlin, one of the things I really fucking used to love about my first times going to Berlin was how varied the ages were with people on the dance floor. It wasn't just people in my age range, it was just people younger. It was people that were literally, you would say, over 40, over 50. And I thought personally, in my personal opinion, those were the people that made the raves. I think personally, I think having that group, like we lost them during COVID, obviously. I think we lost Gen Xers. I think we lost millennials during COVID when it comes to raves. I think the only people that you see outside really in raves all the time are majority Gen Z and some millennials. But I think Gen Xers in general don't go out raving anymore. And I think we lost them during COVID because a lot of people, like, imagine if you were 29 during COVID, you came out of COVID and you were like in your early 30s, you know? So people grew up very quickly. A lot of my friends, especially, you know, decided to get pets on purpose so they wouldn't go out, or decided to start families because they're at home all the time. So, you know, why not fucking start a family now, especially with people having the ability to work from home. So they kind of, even though they don't make that much money, you can still afford to kind of raise a kid because you don't have to work all the time and be away from the kid. You can kind of raise it while you're working from home and shit, blah, 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 blah. So I feel like the club culture is kind of it's kind of less, it's kind of not as good as it used to be because of the lack of variation in ages and also obviously nationalities. During COVID also, we lost a lot of our European brothers and sisters. A lot of people from Spain, France, Italy and stuff during COVID, because a lot of people are very family orientated. They usually live in houses where the whole entire family lives in one fucking block and stuff. Most people are really old. So a lot of the people there passed away or got really sick. So a lot of people from here, relatives, ran back home to go look after people and shit and never came back. Because, you know, you can work from home still I know now a couple people actually who kind of are from France and Spain and fucking Italy who have went back home to work online or work from home for companies that are here in the UK. So I think all of that has definitely contributed to a very distinct drop in quality when it comes to nights out and just, you know, vibes on the dance floor, because those people I feel like were the glue that helped to make the fucking clubs and the events way more interesting. Now, again, it's just full of Gen Zs and millennials, you know, two groups of people that love to fucking complain. Davis' experience is backed by the reels on TikTok and Instagram showing archive footage from clubbing days when no one had phones and everyone was in it for a good time. The new research from Liverpool University shows that clubbers in their 40s and 50s make up a significant part of the city's underground club culture. Sometimes the majority of those are underground events. Okay, fair enough. I don't necessarily agree that's true, but hey. Liverpool's Richard Anderson, author of Persistence of the Underground in Dance Music Scenes, research clubs that were, he says, trying to create evenings where people could lose their inhibitions and be friendly in unfriendly society. He was surprised to find how many of those were attended with Gen Xers. These clubbers, he says, have limited aspirations to grow and become the biggest thing ever. The intention is just to have a good best night out, not to necessarily see the biggest name DJ, and it could just be someone who's going to play music that they like, whether it's made 35 years ago or 35 months ago. It really doesn't matter. Yeah, maybe there's some truth in that. Again, I generally don't see this. I don't think this is the case across the board. The clubs that I go to, the majority of people I see, the majority of people that make up the dance floors that I see are definitely Gen Zs and millennials. Majorities, I'll say 70% Gen Zs and the rest obviously millennials. I don't usually see a lot of Gen Xs. The only time I see a lot of Gen Xs at the clubs is when a particular artist plays. Like that time I went to see Richie Horton play, do his label night, his little performance as Plastic Man and shit at Fold. That was quite good because I saw a bunch of people that were, you know, similar ages of fucking Richie Horton, maybe had followed him since the inception of his career, blah 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 blah. That made it a very interesting and fun space to be in. It continued. Anderson's research covered businesses that weren't aimed at older clubbers, especially he found dancers were happily mixed with younger and older clubbers alike. It's an experience that's borne out some of the dedicated Gen Z clubbers too, who will happily share a space with clubbers their parents' age. In mainstream clubs like Academy and Leeds, you've got people in their 20s who are going more to hit on people than the music. Again, I don't think that's true. So you're going to see young clubbers, but if you go somewhere more underground like Beaver Works or the White Hotel in Manchester, where they'll have good house, good techno and jungle nights where wider age range people are going for music and community, not so snogs and random. Yeah, exactly. I need to go to the White House, by the way, or the White Hotel, sorry. Everyone kind of raves about this place. It's like a warehouse type of venue, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see if I can find someone with a Twitter about it, but I think it's called the White Hotel Manchester. So this is a clip of somebody playing, Kush Jones playing in the White Hotel in Manchester. This looks fucking fire. Big up Blood Clot Kush Jones. Yeah, so big up the White Hotel. A survey by the Eventbrite in 2019 found that 3.7 million Britons over 45 clubbing once a week. One promoter, Phil Marks, guesses that the number has increased significantly. Mark 57 worked as a criminal for 30 years and sold his consultancy at the beginning of 2023. After he had to sit at a desk, he looked around for a day to go rave, couldn't find what he liked, so he launched a one-off one in July called Studio38.club. It's like Studio 54. that's actually quite a funny name. Studio 38 or Studio 38. It's like Studio 54, but we're open 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Jesus Christ. If you have to go to a rave those particular times, you are definitely old, and that's brutal, bro. But I guess it works, isn't it? If you're that age, it kind of, you get out early enough to have some fun, and you get home with time enough to fucking have a shower and sleep. It's a Studio 54, but we're open 3 to 8 p.m. at the pub in King's Cross. I thought I'd sell 20 tickets to some mates, but I sold 150 and filled the place up. Yeah, I'm not surprised. There's definitely going to be an appetite for that, because there's some people, older people, who don't want to be in the same places like maybe Gen Zs and millennials. They want to be amongst people their age, so you know they can kind of pace themselves. They're not feeling super old. 'Cause that's the one thing. If you're conscious and you're not a fucking loser, when you go to clubs, even me, you still feel like an old fucking granddad in the corner, even though you're not, you know. But if you're a psycho, you go to these places and you're perfectly fine to be in a club with fucking 19-year-olds. Most people aren't. Most people want to go in places and at least have an age range that's similar to theirs. So I'm not surprised this guy's event is popping up and there's a demand for it, because there is probably going to be a portion of Gen Xers that would love to go raving, but be amongst people that, you know, are similar age range as them. His second party at the Roxy in Soho sold 350 tickets. Last year, he ran 40 parties across London, Glasgow, Edinburgh, and Bristol, an average of 400 punters per party. He says the competition has exploded in the past 2 years. When I started in London, I was selling out maybe 4 parties ahead, but suddenly there are 15 club nights aimed at older clubbers in London alone. And if you're going to any UK city, you'll have between 3 to 7 companies doing similar events. Studio 38 Club is an underground event. He stresses it's 80s and 90s club classics, but he knows people who've attended one of his events, kind of a gateway club, and are now back clubbing all the time. Ah, okay, that's actually quite interesting. It's a gateway club event. Venues are happy to see us. Youngsters don't drink anymore, as so the clubs can't make any money. That's a good point. Youngsters don't drink anymore. The clubs don't make any money. There were 36,000 clubs in the UK in the 80s. Now there's 1,000. That's actually a really good point. That's actually a really good point. Older people drink more, do more drugs, and they have more disposable income. You know, like literally, this like a person that's like in Gen X would probably save up some money or just spend whatever money on the night out and not even think about it. Be like, yeah, I haven't been on a night out in the fucking year. I'm gonna go get crazy for this one night, and I'm gonna spend 500 quid. You know, that's one person. So imagine if you times up everybody that's in the venue. So most likely these clubs make the most money they ever make at the bar with these Gen X raves. You know. One owner told me the footfall is down 20% and they ended up having to do student nights with shots for £1, so they're lucky to make £5 per head, but with our clubbers they do about 25 a head easy. Wow. The legendary DJ Fat Tony who started, oh fucking Fat Tony, I fucking hate that guy. Just skip him. Skip fucking Fat Tony. He gets on my nerves. Actually, let's just read it anyway. He's fucking annoying though. I think the demographics and clubbing have changed so dramatically because generations, they don't drink anymore. Pubs and bars and nightclubs are opening up. That older generation just stay open. They then are thinking, okay, we're not going to be judged anymore when we go out clubbing. We're not going to be looked at like we're old age pensioners in a club. When their children grow up, their nice parents from that culture want to take their kids out raving. Dare I say, give their child their first pill. Ooh, okay. That's definitely some white Mundele thing. I'm not giving my kid a pill, bro. He or she can find out themselves. I'm not fucking racking up lines with my kids. I mean, to show them the way so I can at least introduce. No. That's not a line you want to cross. I don't think you want to cross that line. Giving your kid their first pill is fucking insane. Might as well give them a bump. Might as well fucking give them a fucking injection. Well, what more? Jesus. That's what they grow up on. I see it all the time. The demand for older clubbers has been matched by the return of 90s club nights like Peaches, God's Kitchen and Clockwork Orange. The latter is something of a pioneer in his age, says Danny Gould, aka Danny Clockwork. The club started holding events in 2014, years after silence of following the Gould quitting to get sober in 2001. I had years of drug-fueled lunacy until my brain just went, you have to stop, he explains. When we were reopening Printworks, we sold 6,000 tickets in 20 minutes, finishing at 9 p.m. I'm in bed by 10 p.m. I'd say it's 2/3 an older crowd and a bunch of 20-somethings. Okay, fair enough. So there are some young people also that don't like that, would like it, like that kind of flow. Older clubbers have jobs, lost jobs, their parents have died, their kids have grown up, they've got nothing to prove anymore, so everyone's respectful and just enjoying themselves. I think that's why the youngsters come and are positivity and say, okay, that's quite a good mix then. So they do older club events and youngsters also go there because it's just about the vibes in the club and no one's just overly obsessed with social media. No one's trying to hit on each other aggressively. Okay, that's interesting. For Anderson, this is in itself explicably political, in that even if you're not thinking about it as a critique of modern society consciously, someone said that the first time they went to a club, they couldn't believe everyone was nice. They'd never experienced that before. It's a desire for tolerance. Jesus Christ. We live in a complex time in the UK, on its knees and it's on its way in so many ways, so it feels right to have a boom in dance music and a dance culture, a place where you can just for a few hours forget about everything. And of course, this chimes with the Generation X. We think of the 60s as a free love and psychedelics, but the majority of the generation were brought up by post-war austerity and were very sensible and got a job, stayed in the same company until they retired and then got their pensions. True. Those are some of the boomers as well, who have got great fucking houses they don't want to give to their kids or sell on or give away. Fucking annoying. But Gen Xers have had the explosion of acid house music in the 80s and 90s that gave us exclusive happy culture. Maybe that's something that's missing in modern world. Social media is very divisive and very fracturing, but being in a real life environment that's inclusive and all about coming together, I think there's something very attractive about it. Yeah, it's true. That's a good point. I think nowadays there is more division on the dance floor than ever. With the popularity of queer raves and shit, those are very other. They're in the other way. The commercial events are doing their thing another way. The black events are doing their thing another way. There's now a lot of like East Asian events that are doing their things another way. I feel like it's more fractured than it's ever been. Unfortunately, it's open. You can do whatever you want based on your interests and stuff. I still haven't seen a proper lesbian night though. I'm not sure why that hasn't popped off. I feel like I see everyone catered to. I see gays catered to, queers catered to. I see people with sex kinks catered to, black people catered to, Asian people catered to, but I don't really see a lot of club nights for lesbians. Maybe because obviously I'm not a lesbian, so maybe it's not crossing my fucking timeline. But I wonder why that's not a thing just yet. Because I feel like there's a bunch of them in nightlife, but they don't necessarily have their own nights. Or maybe they go to queer nights. Maybe that's their thing. Instead of having specific lesbian nights, maybe they just group it in with queer nights. I'm not too sure. But I also think don't generally lesbian and gays have a lot of beef? You know, it's not usually an amicable relationship. I don't know. I'm wondering. Mark has already opened a night in Amsterdam and had an Australian friend franchise Studio 38.8 in Brisbane. Clockwork Orange holds nights in Thailand, Dubai, and Ibiza. Wow. And we're doing parties all over the world. Gerard Skolnick went to a few of the raves in Florida in the 90s, but then moved to Big Apple and worked for tech marketing for years. In 2015, his spin class was promoting a festival where the Chemical Brothers played, and he discovered his taste for UK dance music. His next club night was Above and Beyond, a UK electro trio. I wonder if that's gonna come back, bro. Actually, electro smash and stuff. This is one of the week before Donald Trump 2016 election. The event was spiritual in a way I didn't expect. They put a message on the screen like, if you love someone, tell them now. And during this politically rife time, one of the messages was like, look around, you're so colorful. You are also colorful. I had this moment realizing that we might have completely different beliefs, but right now we're all sharing something. Jesus Christ, look at the power of the rave. A bit cringy, a bit annoying, a bit self-aggrandizing, but I do like it. He now works in clubs and festivals and harm reduction, testing drugs for the presence of fentanyl, helping people to bad trips. When I ask him why he thinks all the clubbers on both sides of the pond are back clubbing like they were 30 years ago, he thinks for a second. In the US, Gen X is called the lost generation. I think those events are what we need to be, not lost. He gives a slow and sad smile. It's the idea that I feel like I belong somewhere. I think our generation for a long time, never felt like it belonged anywhere. Now I found my place. Wow, beautiful, beautiful article. Recommend you check it out. I argue and dispute some of the claims made in there, but largely I agree with the idea of having more people out on the dance floors again. Happy to hear the Gen Xers are finding dance floors fun again. Happy that they're creating their own spaces to go and rave and not fucking going to all the young people's raves and making those guys feel uncomfortable, and vice versa. Happy that now the young people are finding the Gen Xers and wanting to rave with them because they rave in a particular way. Happy that the clubs that aren't making money are making money because the Gen Xers are going there and spend loads of money because they got loads of disposable income. I'm happy across the board. More clubs opening, more people on the dance floor. Let it continue. Let it continue. Let it blood clot continue.